Hi friends, welcome Ashwin, welcome Gaurav.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Namaste.
Namaste,
Thank you.
namaste. How are you doing Ashwin?
I'm good, thank you.
Wonderful. We all looking forward to, listening to you and looking at your webinar and hearing all those good things that you're going to tell us about birds of Malaysia. And let me just see how we're doing with attendees. Oh, many attendees already. And we've got Simic here, we got Zareen, we got Meera, we got Shishi Kumar. Welcome, welcome, friends. Yogeshi, Ananya, and Munish, Jai, Samarjeet Roy, and Chingtu, Shadul. Welcome, friends. And what we're going to do is wait for a few more minutes for more people to join in. In the meantime, people who are new here and attending my webinars for the first time, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Mohit Aggarwal, I am an experiential ecotourism specialist. I'm the founder of Asian Adventures, which is a 30-year-old bird watching and a conservation travel company in India. And we've been into a lot of ecotourism work lately, and I also hold the position of vice chair in Asian Ecotourism Network. The purpose of this webinar is to make you aware of the birds of Malaysia with the expert here, Ashwin, and my colleague Gaurav, who's a bird biologist, is here to assist us. Am I fully audible? If I am, could you write yes in the chat box? So I know that everybody can hear Ashwin when he starts to speak. In the meantime, what I'll do is during the course of this webinar, I'll also post a link about myself and my company so that you know who we are. The second thing is, in case if there's an internet glitch or there's a failure, don't go away. Because this system is very intelligent, it will reboot itself. I have a panic button here which I'll press. It'll reboot itself and bring you back to the webinar. So, Ashwin, Gaurav, and the participants, in case if that happens, stay on. Don't go away. Yeah. How are you, Avijit? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome, Salil. Over to you, Gaurav, to introduce yourself, and then I'll quickly introduce Ashwin and tell him to start his magic.
Thanks, Mohit. Namaste, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. My name is Gaurav Nalkur. I am an avid bird watcher and an avid wildlife lover. And I'm also a big believer in the fact that wildlife tourism, when done responsibly, can be a great tool towards raising awareness and aiding conservation. By qualification, I am a bird biologist, as Mohit mentioned, but I'm currently training to be an ecotourism specialist. And I'm lucky to be working with Mohit and Asian Adventures for the past few years, and who share my goal of using responsible tourism as a conservation tool. Thanks.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, friend, I'm going to read out this introduction of Ashwin's, who's, it's pretty long though, but you got to listen to this. So, Ashwin is 32 years of age and he's a birder from Malaysia. He's been involved in bird watching for the last 23 years. So, which means that you started to bird watch when you were 9, right? And he's involved in birding community there. He is currently the honorary treasurer of Wild Bird Club of Malaysia, WPCM, and a committee member of the Selangor branch of Malaysian Nature Society. He's also a writer for Birdwatching Asia, the only birdwatching specialist media company in Southeast Asia. In this capacity, um, he writes articles related to birdwatching events, birdwatching location, etc. Some achievements of his include winning birdwatching competitions such as the Typing Bird Race and Punty Bird Race. As part of WBCM and MNS, he's also been involved in organizing bird surveys, bird counts, and bird watching trips. His current life list of Malaysian bird scene is 525 out of 855, which is fantastic. Apart from bird watching, he's also done mammal spotting and herping in Malaysia as well. So that's a bit about him. I'm sure there's much more, but with time constraint, we won't stop him now. Go right ahead, Ashwin. Let's start.
All right. Thank you, Mohit and Gaurav, and it's a wonderful team from Asian Adventures. Thank you for inviting me to give this webinar. It's an honor to share my experiences of bird watching in Malaysia. And I would say that the work that Mr. Mohit and team are doing in India is really fantastic. They are involved in engaging local population to be involved in sustainable ecotourism. So definitely lots of wonderful things to learn from them. So so I'm going to present about just give an overview of bird watching in Malaysia. And this presentation is intended for beginners and also international travelers to Malaysia who wish to do bird watching in Malaysia but do not know where to start. So this is the presentation to address that. Of course, if you have more questions, you can ask them in the chat box. And for further readings and all, there are definitely many materials online to look into. So I think, an introduction about myself. I think Mohit summed it up pretty well. And I'm involved in 3 organizations in Malaysia for bird watching. And this includes the Wild Bird Club of Malaysia, which I'm the treasurer. And I'm also the committee member of the Malaysian Nature Society Selangor branch. And I'm also a writer of Birdwatching Asia. So without further ado, I'll just go straight to my presentation. So hope everyone can hear me.
Shall I start it for you? I can start it. For you. Yeah. Okay, I'll start.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So this is a bit about myself, which Mohit already shared. Thank you. Okay, so now talking about Malaysia. Malaysia is a very special country in Asia. It's one of the world's mega diverse countries. It's ranked number 12 in the world because it's behind India, but that's also because it's a very small country. The land size is about 330,800 kilometers, and we have a wide range of habitats. So the total number of recorded bird species as of now is about 855 species, and this includes migratory birds, vagrant birds, introduced birds, and also endemic birds, which high number of the endemic birds are found in Borneo. Okay. And so this is just a map of Malaysia in the world, and you can see I've circled the circled where Malaysia is, and we are south of Thailand and north of Indonesia. It's a small country if you compare to India, Indonesia, and Thailand, but it has very rich wildlife, and that's why it's one of the mega diverse country. In a small span of space, you can find lots of species. Yeah, so this is a close-up view of Malaysia, and there are two main parts of Malaysia, as you can see. One is the Peninsular Malaysia, or we also call it West Malaysia, and it's the part of Malaysia that is connected to the mainland of Asia, and it's connected to Thailand and Singapore, the south. And the other part of Malaysia is East Malaysia, which consists of uh, two states of Malaysia, which is Sabah and Sarawak. These two states are part of the island of Borneo. So the island of Borneo, there are three countries that share this island, namely Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei. So Malaysia is one of the places to go if you want to visit Borneo. Okay, yeah, this is another map of Malaysia. You can see that on East Malaysia, you can see Sabah, Sarawak. They are the biggest states in Malaysia. On the western side, you can see that that the Peninsular Malaysia, it is divided into quite a number of states. So there are around 12 states, and it's all you can see the different colors in this map. It's all the different states. So we have Johor in the south, and up north we have Kedah, Kelantan, Perlis. So Malaysia, yeah. So this is the basic geography of Malaysia. In Peninsular Malaysia, we have around 640 species of birds, and in Sabah, we have 450 species of birds, and in Sarawak, we have 530 species of birds. Out of the 400 and 500 species of birds you find in Sabah and Sarawak, 66 species are Bornean endemics. So it's one of the reasons why many people go to Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, now talking about birding in Malaysia. So bird watching and bird photography is a hobby. It is developing in Malaysia, and especially after the pandemic, we have more people getting into this hobby. So there are many habitats in Malaysia, and this includes lowland rainforests, montane rainforests, mangroves, freshwater wetlands, paddy fields, coastal mudflats, and so on. So in all these different habitats, you get different types of birds. Yeah, and sometimes depending on your preference, if you were to visit Malaysia, there may be certain birds in your mind that you want to see. So you can target these birds in those certain habitats. So most people come to Malaysia because they want to see many of the birds that are unique here. And one of the most, the best habitats to see these unique birds are the forest birds. So this means lowland rainforest and montane rainforest. So most of the target birds of people who come to Malaysia, they are usually interested in the birds in the forest. So this includes birds like hornbills, broadbills, trogons, pitas, partridges, and there are also some special bulbuls, leaf birds, barbets, woodpeckers, and so on. So these are the birds that many people would like to see. There are also some endemic and near endemic species. Some of them can be found in both Peninsular Malaysia and in Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, so now one of the bird species that people like to see when they come here is hornbills, and for yeah, and actually for hornbills, Malaysia has a high number of species. We have a total of 10 species of hornbills, and in the Asian region, this is one of the higher numbers. Thailand has about 12 species, and after that, Malaysia has 10. And apart from Malaysia, we have Philippines, who also has 10 species. But most of the mainland hornbills can be found in Malaysia. And the reason why in my first slide regarding hornbills that I put these two hornbill species is because these two hornbill species, the great hornbill and the plain pouch hornbill, they can only be found in West Malaysia, which is the peninsular Malaysia, and it cannot be found in Sabah and Sarawak. So if like one of your target bird species to see in Malaysia are hornbills, and you want to see all 10 of them, then you need to do more focused birding in the west part of Malaysia. Now, this is pretty ironic because in school normally we are taught that Borneo is the land of the hornbills, but actually, in actual fact, most of the hornbill species are found in the west part of Malaysia. And later, I will share about the plain pouch hornbill because it's only found in very few select locations in Malaysia, and there is a very interesting phenomenon associated with the plain pouched hornbill. So apart from that, yeah, the other rare species of hornbills that people would like to see are these two, the helmeted hornbill and the wrinkled hornbill. So these are the most difficult species of hornbills to see in Malaysia, and they are very rare. I think they are near threatened in the IUCN list, and it's very difficult to see them. But if you see them, it's a very amazing sight to see. So yeah, the bird on the left is the male helmeted hornbill, and the one on the right, sorry, yeah, is the wrinkled hornbill, the male. Yeah, some other hornbills that you can see is the rhinoceros hornbill and the white-crowned hornbill. The rhinoceros hornbill is the national bird of Malaysia. Now, the white-crowned hornbill is a very unique bird as well. Yeah, these are some other hornbills that you can see that are unique here. The black hornbill and the bushy-crested hornbill. So yeah, hornbills are one of my favorite birds to see in the wild, and it's always an amazing sight to see them. If you wish to see hornbills, certain forests in Peninsular Malaysia are very good hotspots. So these include Taman Negara, Tasik Kenyir, um, also the Belum Temenggo Forest Reserve, and also the Ulu Muda Forest Reserve. And if you wish to see hornbills in Borneo, do not worry, we can also find them there. But we can find around 8 species there, and one of the best places to see hornbills in Borneo, if you do a trip there, would be the Kinabatangan River, where all 8 Bornean species of hornbills can be found. Yeah, another good place would be the Rainforest Discovery Center in Sepilok. Yeah, another target forest bird that people like to see when they come to Malaysia are broadbills, and these are very amazing birds. You can see that their features are very beautiful, and they look almost like they came out of the painting. So like some of the broadbills that you can see here are like the dusky broadbill, you can see on right, and then you can also see the black and yellow broadbill, the black and red broadbill, and the green broadbill. So the total number of broadbills in Malaysia is Peninsular Malaysia, sorry, is about 7 species, and there are 2 additional species that are Bornean endemics. And these Bornean endemics are the white-head's broadbill and the hoses broadbill. So if you want to see these two broadbills, you have to make a trip to Sabah or Sarawak. Yeah, another type of forest bird that people usually target on their birding trip to Malaysia are trogons. So these are some of the trogons that you can find here. So we have the red-naped trogon, and the scarlet rum trogon. We also have the orange-breasted trogon, and the total number of trogons that you can find in Malaysia is around 6 species in the peninsula, and there's one addition that you can see in Borneo, which is the white-head's trogon, and we'll have this. I'll talk about the white-head's trogon later. Yeah, and then the other exotic bird that people like to see in Malaysia are the pitas. So pitas, we have around 12 species in Malaysia, both in Peninsular Malaysia and Borneo, the total number. And for this, we have some of the pitas being Bornean endemics, and some of the pitas you can find it in Peninsular Malaysia, but you can't find them in Borneo. So these are some of the interesting pitas that you can see in Peninsular Malaysia. These include the mangrove pita, which is a very specialized in mangrove forest. So if you want to see this bird, you have to go into mangrove forest. Then the pita that is above, which is blue and red, you can see that. That's the garnet pita. The pita below that is the Malayan banded pita. I've had a very interesting encounter with the garnet pita once, and one time I joined this bird watching trip together with Wild Bird Club of Malaysia, and during this trip, one of the target birds for us was the garnet pita. So we made a trip to the Taman Negara Merapu entrance. So Taman Negara is one of the national parks in Malaysia, and in Taman Negara there are actually a few entrances. So one of the lesser known entrance is the Merapu entrance. So it's a very good spot for birding. And in the 3 days of the trip, the first 2 days we did not see this bird at all. And only in the last day, just before we were going back, we were having a morning session of birding in Taman Negara. And we heard the call of this bird, which was very close by, but it was very hard to see because it's not coming out. And during this moment, I decided to just go into one of the small forest trails that was inside this forest, just to see whether I can get a chance of seeing this elusive bird. And after 30 minutes of waiting, I finally saw this bird cross my path. So it's a very magical moment. So yeah, pitas are one of the star birds and attractive birds to see in Malaysia. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, there are also some pitas that are Bornean endemics. So this includes the black crown pita, the blue-headed pita, and the blue-banded pita. As you can see, all of them are very unique and very colorful. So yeah, we have some bird watchers and bird photographers who really love pita so much that they do specific trips just to see them. Among the pitas that are available in both Peninsular Malaysia and Borneo, there's one pita called the giant pita, which is a very elusive bird and it's very rare to see. I haven't encountered it myself, but it's present in both Borneo and Peninsular Malaysia. So sometimes this is also one of the birds that people would target to see. Yeah, Apart from that, we have other notable starbirds, very unique birds in Malaysia that you can't find in many other countries. And so people usually come to Malaysia to target to see these birds. One of these birds is the Malaysian rail babbler. And this is a very special bird. It's a ground-dwelling bird, and it can be found in both Peninsular Malaysia and in Borneo. But this bird is very shy, and just like the pitas, you need to be very patient if you want to see them. And this bird, it is very sensitive to sounds and movement. So my encounter with the Malaysian rail babbler is similar to the garnet pita. I was walking in a forest trail alone, and I happened to hear this bird calling, and I waited for some time without moving, before I finally saw this bird. So very wonderful experience. Another bird that some birders that come to Malaysia like to see is the Malaysian honey guide. So if you can see on the picture that is shown in the slide, the honey guide is actually a very dull-looking bird. It's not very colorful, and it's just brown and it's it actually looks very much like a very common bulbul, same like the red-eyed bulbul and olive-winged bulbul. They look very similar. However, they have the honey guide has certain features that distinguish it from bulbuls. So I haven't encountered this bird yet, but when I talk to people who have encountered it, they mentioned that uh, most of the time they find this bird by accident. So it's a very rare bird and very easily confused with common birds. So you need to really pay attention if you'd like to see this bird. Another bird that's special here is also frog mouths. And here I put the picture of the large frog mouth. So it's the largest species of frog mouth in Malaysia. So Malaysia has around 6 species of frog mouths, and these are nocturnal birds. So they are usually active in the night. And if you would like to see them, you'd have to do night birding most of the time to see, unless you get news that there's a roosting bird in the daytime, which is a very rare occurrence. So uh, encountering a frog mouth is a uh, very interesting experience. So I've seen the large frog mouth before, and it's a nocturnal. This one can be found in both Peninsular Malaysia and in Borneo. But in Borneo, we have additional 3 species of frog mouths, which is the Sunda frog mouth, the Bornean frog mouth, and the Dulit frog mouth. Regarding the Dulit frog mouth, I will also share a bit about it later. Some other very beautiful forest birds people usually like to see when they come to Malaysia are kingfishers. So one of the kingfishers that you can see here is the banded kingfisher. So you can see both the male and the female are of different morphs or different colors. So this is something in the birding world that we call sexual dimorphism, where the male looks a certain way and the female looks differently. So this is one of the beautiful kingfishers which people like to see when they come here. The male is you can see it has blue wings and all, and the female is also actually very beautiful. You can see it looks like a tiger, the bird version of a tiger. It has the stripes. And then other birds, kingfishers that you can see here are like the blue-eared kingfisher, the rufous-collared kingfisher, the rufous-backed kingfisher. Now, for the rufous-backed dwarf kingfisher, which is the kingfisher that you see that's It has a very rufous color. This is a very special bird as well. Uh, this is the resident species in Malaysia, and you can usually find them in forested areas. Now, what's special about this bird is previously it used to be called the Oriental dwarf kingfisher, and it used to be together with the black-backed dwarf kingfisher. It used to be regarded as one species, but then it was then split because in Malaysia you can actually find both the black-backed dwarf kingfisher and the rufous-backed dwarf kingfisher. And the black-backed dwarf kingfisher is the migratory kingfisher, whereas the rufous-backed dwarf kingfisher is the resident. So I understand that in India you can find the black-backed dwarf kingfisher, but you can't find the rufous-backed dwarf kingfisher there. So yeah, this is one of the birds to see when you come here. In certain times of the year, there's a chance you may be able to see both, especially when the black-backed dwarf kingfisher is also migrating down south. Yeah, another class of interesting birds you can find in Malaysia are the woodpeckers, and here are some of the interesting woodpeckers you can find here. That there are about 26 species of woodpeckers in Malaysia, so many species. I've just picked a few to share for tonight's talk, and some of these woodpeckers are very special. The one on the left, sorry, on the right, is the great slaty woodpecker. And why this woodpecker is very special is because it's currently the largest species of woodpecker in the world, and especially because the imperial woodpecker and the ivory-billed woodpecker are extinct, from the US. So the next in line in terms of size is the great slaty woodpecker. So Malaysia has the largest woodpecker now. Uh, next to the great slaty, we also have the olive-backed woodpecker. You can see that it looks a bit like the common woodpecker called the common flameback, but it has some distinguishing features, and this is a very hard woodpecker to see. Usually you can see it in forested areas, and if you can see this, it's a major achievement. You can also see other woodpeckers such as the grey and buff woodpecker, and yeah, it's one of the grey woodpecker that is very colorful. And apart from that, you can also see another type of woodpecker called the rufous picolet. It's not categorized in the same family as the old world woodpeckers, but the picolets are also part of the woodpecker family. And the rufous picolet is the one of the world's smallest woodpeckers. So outside of the Americas, North and South America, it is actually the smallest. The only woodpecker that is smaller than the rufous picolet is the bar-breasted picolet that you can find in South America. Apart from woodpeckers, we also have some amazing pheasants that you can find in Malaysia. This includes the great argus. So you can see the great argus has a very long tail feather, and it's one of the special birds that people want to see when they come here. So yeah, the tail of the great argus is actually longer than even the Indian peafowl. So it's a very beautiful bird, but very shy. Most of the time you hear its calls in the forest, but it's very hard to see one in the wild. Apart from that, you also have the Malayan crested fireback, which is the one you see in blue with a blue head. So yeah, this is a very interesting pheasant to see. One of the best place to see this bird is in Taman Negara in Kuala Tahan. So it's usually hanging around the Mutiara Resort. Another very famous pheasant here in Peninsular Malaysia, especially, is the mountain peacock pheasant, and this is a bird that is near endemic in Peninsular Malaysia. I think the only other country which has this bird outside of Peninsular Malaysia is southern Thailand, but very few records of those. So the mountain peacock pheasant is one of the endemic birds that um, you can target if you come to West Malaysia, the mainland. Yeah, Malaysia also has a number of partridge species. So we have the Malayan hill partridge. This is a montane partridge, so you can typically find them in a montane forest. So forests like Maxwell Hill or Fraser's Hill are one of the best places to see them. We also have the ferruginous partridge. Also, it's a montane, submontane bird, and can be seen in places like Bukit Tinggi, Fraser's Hill, and so on. And then the chestnut necklace partridge is a partridge that is more easily seen in the northern part of Malaysia. So in the states of Kedah is very near the Thai border is where you can see this bird. So, yeah, so if you have certain targeted birds that you want to see, yeah, you need to plan your trips so that you target the areas where there's a high chance of seeing these birds. Another interesting bird watching experience is owling, going to the bird watching spots at night to find nocturnal owls. So yeah, Malaysia has around 20 species of owls recorded. This includes migratory and resident. I've just shown some of the owl species here, and this include the Sunda scops owl. This is the most common scops owl that you can find in Malaysia, but it's also has a limited range. So Malaysia is one of the places where you can see this bird. Another bird to see is the dusky eagle owl, and this bird is the largest owl in Malaysia. It has been recently seen in the northern parts of Malaysia, in, Perlis and Kedah, and definitely seeing this bird is a spectacle by itself. So, and then another owl that many people find very special to Malaysia is the Mantanani Scopes owl. In the whole of Malaysia, the only place you can see this owl is in the island of Mantanani, which is off the coast of Sabah. So this makes it very special. So if anyone wants to see owls, you have to make a trip to Mantanani Island. Otherwise, the only other places where you can see this special owl is in a few islands off the Philippines. But these islands are not very accessible. So Mantanani Island is still one of the best places to see it. Okay, yeah. So apart from the resident birds, like just now, I'm showing you some very special birds in Malaysia, which people usually want to see when they come here. But apart from that, Malaysia has also lots of unique migratory birds. And to see these birds, you need to plan your trip here during the migratory season. Yeah, and this includes forest birds such as pitas, kingfishers, cuckoos, herons, egrets, and some waders or shorebirds. So in terms of migratory shorebirds, Malaysia is part of the East Asian Australasian flyway, and this is a very special uh, initiative where you know different countries actually gather data of the migratory pathways of the shorebirds. So Malaysia is one of the important flyway stops. And most of these birds, these migratory birds, arrive during the northern winter. We have very few migratory birds during the southern winter. Southern winter are those birds from Australia. Sometimes you can find them migrating northwards, and some of them do end up in Malaysia. Yeah, but the majority of the migratory birds that we find here are the northern winter birds. And some of these migratory birds are very unique. Now, the challenge of identifying some of these migratory birds is that these birds won't be in breeding plumage. Some of these birds, when they arrive here, they are in their non-breeding plumage, and some of these uh, non-breeding plumage, the birds will look very dull, but and so it's harder to identify some species. And for certain species like cuckoos, when they do come down to Malaysia, they will stop uh, letting out their calls. So sometimes certain species of cuckoos, the only way to identify them is by listening to their calls. And when they are not making any calls, it's very difficult to tell them apart. Yeah, so some examples of these birds which are harder to identify include the Himalayan or Oriental cuckoo, and also the pond herons. I will talk about the pond herons in a bit. Yeah, so these are some of the migratory pitas that appear here. So these include the blue-winged pita and the western hooded pita. So some of their favorite wintering spots are not that far from Kuala Lumpur. Like there's a forest in Shah Alam called the Botanical Gardens, where you can see them quite almost every year. They return there. Other places you can see these birds are in places like Taiping, or also in other forested areas. I've seen them in Taman Negara as well. Yeah, so these birds are easily seen during the migratory season. So if you do want to see these birds, you have to plan your trips during that time. Yeah, we also have migratory kingfishers. So these include the common kingfisher, the black-backed dwarf kingfisher, and the ruddy kingfisher. So the common kingfisher is not very common here, despite its name. It's very common in the European countries, the northern hemisphere. But in the south, we have so many kingfishers here, and the common kingfisher is a pretty difficult bird to see sometimes. It's not rare, but it's quite uncommon. And then other birds the black-backed dwarf kingfisher is one of the harder migratory birds to see because they do not uh, stay in Malaysia very long. They are a passage migrant. So usually when they migrate down to Malaysia, they will make a few stops in Malaysia, maybe about a week or two, and then they'll continue down further south to Indonesia. So usually there's a very short window to see these birds. Yeah, we also have migratory cuckoos. So among them is the beautiful chestnut-winged cuckoo. It's one of the birds that I wanted to see for a very long time. So similar like the black-backed dwarf kingfisher, this is also a passage migrant. Yeah, and just as I mentioned earlier, the Himalayan or Oriental cuckoo, because this bird looks very similar to each other, the Himalayan and the Oriental cuckoo. So unless you are able to listen to the call, you can't identify which one is it. Usually, you will have a very short window close to the end of the migration period where the cuckoo suddenly becomes vocal, and that's the only time you can identify this bird. Yeah, some other migratory cuckoos, like the Asian emerald cuckoo, a very beautiful bird, and also we also have hawk cuckoos. So this is the Hoxton's hawk cuckoo, and for all most of these forest birds, usually the best way to spot them is to know the calls, because sometimes you also need to be good at spotting movement among the thick jungles, but recognizing the calls of the birds are very important to spot them. We also have resident cuckoos in Malaysia. So this includes the violet cuckoo, a very beautiful bird. You see it's very purplish in color. And this is the male. And then the cuckoo on the right is the Sunda cuckoo. And if you notice, it looks very much similar to the Indian cuckoo in looks. But this cuckoo is a resident, and it also lives in mountain forests. So places like Fraser's Hill and Cameron Highlands are some of the good places to see this bird. Apart from cuckoos, yeah, now we are going away from the forest. We're going to open areas and and coastal areas, for some unique birds that you can find in Malaysia. So for herons, one of the unique Malaysian birds to find is the great-billed heron. It's one of the harder to see herons in Malaysia. And I just only recently encountered it. And in Peninsular Malaysia, you can mainly find them in the southern part of Malaysia. So in the states of Johor, is one of the best places to see. Apart from that, you can also see them in Borneo, in Sabah and Sarawak. Then we also have the Pacific reef heron. This is the dark moth of the reef heron. We also have a light moth, which is and it looks very much like an egret. The Pacific reef heron is a coastal bird, so if you want to see them, you need to do a coastal trip. Apart from that, we also have the purple heron, which is a very common heron that you can see if you visit freshwater and open areas in Malaysia. Okay, yeah. Now talking about the pond herons. So as I said earlier, the pond heron is a very unique bird because it has both the non-breeding plumage and the breeding plumage. And the interesting thing is when it migrates to Malaysia, it's usually in the non-breeding plumage. And now for the pond heron, the special thing about Malaysia is one of the few countries where you can get three species of pond heron. So you can get the Indian pond heron, the Javan pond heron, and the Chinese pond heron. And in non-breeding plumage, this bird is actually indistinguishable. They all look the same. So we can't positively ID a bird as a specific species in the non-breeding plumage. The only time we can positively ID this bird is when the birds change into breeding plumage, and you have a short window before they fly off uh, to their their feeding grounds before you can identify them. Yeah, and so this is a very special bird. I think in India we only get the Indian pond heron, and in like places like China, only the Chinese pond heron is there. But very few countries have all three. So this is a special bird to see here. Yeah, some interesting waders and shorebirds to find in Malaysia. So if you are interested in coastal birds, some of the birds to look out for is the Malaysian plover. So the Malaysian plover is a resident plover in Malaysia, and it can be found in sandy beaches. And usually this bird is in the east coast of Malaysia. So you'll need to travel to a few spots in the eastern part of peninsular Malaysia to see this bird. In Sabah and Sarawak, you can also see this bird, and it's usually seen in certain coastal areas. Now, this bird is very special because it's one of the resident species, and it has a limited range, so it's also a very hard to see shorebird in Malaysia. Another very interesting bird to see, coastal bird to see, is the Chinese egret. And the Chinese egret is a migratory bird from China. It's very rare, and this bird also frequents the eastern coast of Malaysia. So if you want to see that, you have to come during the migratory period, and there are also only certain spots where you can see this bird. Some other interesting shorebirds to see is the Nordmann's green shank. This is a uh, very uh, very rare shorebird, I would say, because the numbers of the birds are very few, the total population. And if you are into shorebirds and you actually follow the global counts, every year they certain organizations related to bird life and all, they have a yearly counts of number of shorebirds, and the Nordmann's green shank is one of the uh, birds with the lower numbers, so it's very rare. And Malaysia is one of the best places to see the Nordmann's green shank. So you can see them in certain uh, parts of Malaysia, such as the Selangor coast. There are certain spots around there. Also, you can also see them in Penang, which is the northern part of Malaysia. We also have the great knot, another migratory shorebird. In other countries, it's one of the rarer shorebirds to see, but in Malaysia, it's actually pretty common. I would say, not the rare shorebird that we have in Malaysia is the red knot. So this bird is like very common in other countries, such as the UK and all. But in Malaysia, it's very rare. And then the great knot is very rare in other countries, but in Malaysia, you can get them in large numbers. We also have the ruddy turnstone, one of my favorite shorebirds to see, especially when you see them in breeding plumage. They're really beautiful. Yeah, so that was just a brief overview of birding in Malaysia, especially Peninsular Malaysia. Dedicated some slides to about birding in Borneo. So Borneo is very unique because, as said earlier, it consists of two Malaysian states, and then it contributes most of the endemic species in Malaysia. Uh, Among both Sabah and Sarawak, the two Malaysian states, Sabah is usually the preferred destination for birding, and this is because it's more easily accessible to birders to access the birding sites and to see a large number of bird species. Also, Sarawak is not very recommended because the birding locations are usually very far off from the main towns or cities. So to access the birding locations, you would have to fly into those towns, and from those towns, you have to take 5 to 6 hour drive, usually, maybe by 4x4 and all, to visit some of the birding sites. So for usually easier birding, Sabah is the preferred location. But if you have gained more experience birding in Borneo, then you can go for some of the more adventurous locations in Sarawak. So these are some of the unique endemic birds of Borneo. So this includes the Bornean bristlehead. This is the mascot of the Sepilok Rainforest Discovery Center, and one of the most sought after birds to see in Sabah. Can also see them in Sarawak, but very few locations to see it. Another one is the Sabah partridge. It's one of the endemic partridges to see in Sabah. I had the bounty of seeing one last year when I attended the Borneo Bird Festival in Sepilok. Next, we also have the yellow rum flowerpecker. It's one of the normal birds, endemic birds to see in Sabah. But to me, it was very special because this was my number 500, the 500 species of birds that I saw in Malaysia. So in my life list, this bird is number 500. So it's very special to me. Yeah, some other endemic birds of Borneo. When people come to Borneo, they want to see uh, like the mountain serpent eagle. The best place to see this is the Kinabalu National Park in Sabah, and this bird is you can find them in mountain areas. So Kinabalu National Park is one of the best places to see this. So some other birds include Bornean forktail and also the Bornean whistling thrush. Okay, another special feature when birding in Sabah is when you go to the Kinabalu National Park. One of the target birds to see are the white-headed trio. This includes the white-headed strogon, the white-headed broadbill, and the white-headed spider hunter. So all of them are special because they were discovered by a researcher named who has the name Whitehead. So that is the only link connecting them, three of them. But these birds are very special because they are endemics, and one of the best places to see it is in Kinabalu. Okay, another feature of Bornean birds, when you see, there are some birds in Borneo that are currently they are still categorized as the same species as the Peninsular Malaysia counterparts, but there's a high chance that they may split in the future. These include some species such as the black magpie, uh, then the rufous-backed dwarf kingfisher, which you can find in Sabah. If you notice the Bornean black magpie, they may split from the Malayan black magpie. And if you notice the rufous-backed dwarf kingfisher in Sabah, which is a resident, looks very different from the rufous-backed dwarf kingfisher you find in the mainland of Malaysia. And you can see it looks it closely resembles the black-backed dwarf kingfisher, but there are some subtle differences. So yeah, this may be a species that may split. Also, even the common birds such as the oriental magpie robin, you see the Bornean subspecies, the color is very different from the magpie robin that you see in the mainland. It doesn't have a white breast. So these are some of the Bornean subspecies that, because of how different they are from the birds from the mainland, there's a high chance they may split. So sometimes if you are doing both bird watching in the peninsula and in Borneo, you may want to see both species before they split. So another example is this bird on bottom, which is the white-crowned shama. During my first visit to Sabah, this species was known as the Bornean subspecies of the white ram shama. So white ram shama, you can find it in Peninsular Malaysia. The Bornean subspecies has a white crown. But after seeing the bird, then I think every year there's a review of the taxonomy list of birds around the world. Now during that period, the researchers, they decided to split the white crown shama from the white ram shama. So now it's a separate separate species. So yeah, this is an example of how some of the common birds in Borneo can be a different species in the future. Yeah, some other Bornean subspecies that are very different from the ones in the mainland. The Bornean banded kingfisher, you see, it has a black marking on the cheek. So this is a feature that you can't see in the mainland species. Also, the Ashidrongo in Sabah looks very different from the one in the mainland. So it's also another subspecies to look out for. Yeah, so now I'll just touch on some locations for birding around Malaysia. So for montane rainforest, yeah, some of the good places to go are Kinabalu Park, Gunung Alap, both are in Sabah. In Peninsular Malaysia, Fraser's Hill Cameron Highlands, Bukit Tinggi, and Maxwell Hill are the good spots to go. For lowland rainforest, Sepilok RDC, Rainforest Discovery Center, Kinabatangan River, Danum Valley, Tabin Wildlife Sanctuary. These are the places in Sabah. If you are going to the Peninsular Malaysia, Taman Negara, Belum State Park, Panti Bird Sanctuary, and Darumpi National Park. These are a few forests that you can go for lowland forest birds. We're going for mangrove forests. Certain places in Sabah, Klias wetland area, Kinabatangan River Mount, where you can go. And in the mainland, we have Kuala Selangor Nature Park, Matang Mangrove Forest, Langkawi Mangroves, Kuantan Mangroves, and some in Sarawak as well, Bako National Park, and some mangrove areas near Kuching. For freshwater wetlands and open area, you can go to some places in near Sabah, KK wetland area, Tempasuk Plains. You can also go to in the mainland Peninsula Malaysia. Some Putrajaya wetlands is one of the popular places. You can also go to some places in the north, like the Batukawan wetland, Penang paddy fields, and so on, which are good spots. For coastal areas, the Selangor coast, Teluk Air Tawar and Penang is a very good, important bird area for shorebirds and waders. For the eastern side of Malaysia, especially if you want to see birds like the Malaysian plover and all, Mersing Beach, Rompin Beach are good places. Sarawak Buntal Bay is a very good place, and Tanjung Aru and Lok Kawi Beach in Sabah are good places as well. So if you are going for certain types of birds, some of the locations to see them, especially for hornbills, you can see like Belum State Park is one of the good places, and Ulu Muda. These are the only two places with all 10 species of hornbills. Other places like Kenyai State Park, Taman Negara, they have close to that number, about 8 or 9 species. In Sabah, Kinabatangan River is the best place. You can find around 8 species, and so Danum Valley. For pitas, you can go to places like Taman Negara, some forests in Kedah, Johor, and also for the Bonian endemics, Sepilok, Danum Valley, and Tabin Wildlife Sanctuary are the best places. There are also some good places to go if you want to go for trogons and broadbills. For Sarawak, two species are actually very special there, namely the Dulit frogmouth and the black oriole. These are two species of Bonian endemics that you can't get in Sabah. So if you really wish to see these birds, then you need to go to Sarawak. There's also another bird which I thought was very important to put in this part, which is the Bonaparte's nightjar. In Malaysia, the only place to see it is in Sarawak, but you can't see it in other parts of Malaysia. Otherwise, you need to go to Indonesia to see it. For shorebird and wader watching, these are some of the species that people like to see when they go for them. As I mentioned earlier, the Nordman's greenshank is one of the birds to see, and also the far eastern curlew. This is also a very rare shorebird. Other unique Malaysian starbirds, as shared earlier, include the rail babbler, honey guide, and so on. We also have some other very special birds, such as the Bonian ground cuckoo, milky stock, which also has only certain areas where you can see them. Okay, another thing that I would like to share, just before we end, is some of the bird watching spectacles in Malaysia. These are bird watching bird phenomenons that you see in Malaysia, which is very special. And some of them include the raptor migration. So Malaysia is one of the locations where you can see large numbers of raptors migrating, especially in the months of March and April. So you have to come to Malaysia during this period, and especially in this area called Tanjung Tuan is one of the best places to see the migration of the oriental honey buzzard. We also have the plain pouch hornbill migration. So plain pouch hornbill is very special. Is one of the hornbills that you can see in large numbers in certain times of the year in the Belum forest and in Ulu Muda forest in Kedah. Sometimes, we have had counts of hornbills. Sometimes you can see up to close to 1,000 birds in a day, and they migrate in big groups. And also, Weda and shorebird migration is special. You can see them in large numbers. Certain islands off of Malaysia, you can also see large numbers of frigate birds. And then certain times, you can also see cuckoos being fed by a foster parent bird. It is a very rare occurrence, but when we get news of such a sighting, it's something to see. And for raptors, we also have the harrier migration. So in certain areas in Malaysia, you can see large numbers of harriers. And if you go offshore and do pelagic birding, you will find the seabirds that you see that is dominant here in Malaysia is the terns, and sometimes you see them in large numbers. So this is also something to see. And when you do forest birding, an amazing phenomenon to see is the bird waves, and this is usually typically seen in forests like Fraser's Hill and Taman Negara and all, where in certain times of the day, especially after it stops raining, you'll find a large group of mixed flock birds, birds of different species, uh, traveling in groups and big groups to feed on insects. And during this period, you can see many bird species at a short period of time. Yeah, so these photos were taken during my trip to Mantanani Island in Sabah. You can see all these dots here. They are all actually birds. I couldn't capture them all in a single frame. And these are frigate birds in Mantanani Island. When you zoom in, you can see them a bit more clearly. And you can see hundreds of them on the skies in Mantanani Island. The species that you can find here is usually the lesser frigate bird and the Christmas Island frigate bird. These are some photos of the plain pouch hornbill migration in Ulu Muda. So you can see large numbers of hornbills flying. Yeah, so these are some photos of big groups of shorebirds and terns in Malaysia. And here's regarding the raptor migration. So there's an event called the Raptor Watch that's always held every year in Tanjung Tuan in Malacca to count these birds. And the main raptors that you see here are the oriental honey buzzards, the black buzzard, gray-faced buzzard, and so on. We also have harrier migration, and from the photo below, you can see the pied harrier, which is one of the birds to see during this time. Yeah, these are some bird watching events in Malaysia. So we have many bird watching events. If you like to attend this, you can plan your trips to coincide these events. Okay, so for everyone who'd like to find out more about birdwatching in Malaysia, one of the options you have is you can visit the website of the birdwatching Birdwatching Asia, and here we have articles on birdwatching events happening around Asia, Malaysia, and around the globe, and also birdwatching locations, some tips on birdwatching here. Yeah, so do give a read when you're able to. Yeah, so if you are planning a bird trip to Malaysia, some things that you can do to prepare is can hire a bird specialist nature guide. This is one of the best ways to maximize your trips here, because usually the local birders are more familiar with the bird behaviors and bird sounds, bird calls. So it's easier to see more species when you go with a bird specialist nature guide. If you are here for a longer period, then recommend that you join some of the birding club societies here. Yeah. Apart from that, you can also read articles on birdwatching Malaysia. There are many sites, including Birdwatching Asia, where you can get lots of information on birdwatching. Another useful application to use is the eBird application to find out more about bird sightings and bird watching hotspots. Yeah, so that's all for my presentation. Hope I didn't go too long. Uh, and yeah, any questions, I would be free to answer. Thanks.
I think it was wonderful, absolutely fantastic, 10 out of 10 presentation. Ashwin, 10 out of 10 to you. It was very, very informative, and it sort of gave information to people where to go, when to go, what to expect. So, very comprehensive. What are your views on this, Gaurav? Did you?
It was really informative, really dived in deep into birdwatching in Malaysia. I think anyone who is planning to go there now has, a much better idea of where to go and how to go about birdwatching. So I think it was a really interesting webinar and really helpful for a lot of people.
I think, okay, friends, before we
Thank you.
start to take your questions, if there are any, I have to tell you that 12 hours from now, you will get a replay link in your inbox, which you can share with others also. And just to let you know, Ashwin, those people who signed up but could not attend will also get the replay link 12 hours from now, and they'll be able to watch your webinar, and we'll put it on YouTube as well. So it'll always be there to see it. You know what I really liked about your webinar was that you put the regions separately, which are the best places, which are the sought after birds, right? What to do, when to do, raptor watch, this, that, whatever. You segregated very meticulously the mainland Malaysia birds and the island birds, right? And you talked about those. So it was a beautifully crafted presentation. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Malaysia has the largest number of islands, 17,600 or something like that, right? Followed by Philippines, which is 7,300 or 600. So
Okay,
if
I'm
you
not
talk,
sure that.
yeah, it's probably the highest number of islands on the planet, 17,600 islands or things like that. So the amount of biodiversity that you have is phenomenal. Of course, when you look at Malaysia, you've got Fraser's Hill, Taman Negara, Panti, and lots of interesting places. But moment you fly off to the east, then you've got Sarawak and Sabah in Malaysia, and then you've got Kalimantan, and you've got Brunei and other areas, which are teeming with wildlife and birds, right? So like India, one can really spend 7 to 10 lifetimes in these areas.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's important that we answer some questions of people, um, but it seems that most people are going on appreciating, which is very good. I'm just trying to find a question or two for you to answer. Mm, 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 mm. So I think some people want to know the birds from Sarawak. do you have any sort of special birds in Sarawak that you want to talk about quickly?
Okay, so for Sarawak, you have some birds that are also found in Sabah, which are Bornean endemic. So birds like the Bornean bristlehead can also be found in Sarawak. It's just not as easily seen as in Sepilok. Yeah, but then the very special birds in Sarawak that people usually go for are two birds, which is the Dulit frogmouth,
Sorry, can you say it loudly?
Dulit frogmouth,
Yep, delete
yeah,
program. Yep.
and the black oriole.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and
Wonderful.
these birds are very hard to see because the place in Sarawak where you need to go to see the Dulit frogmouth is very remote, and
Gaurav, can you hear Ashwin?
No, I can't hear him. I think
I think
his
it's stuck.
connection is a bit off.
Okay. So Jay Sharma is asking, can we get ebooks on birds of Malaysia? He's visiting Fraser Hill and Tawau. I know that there are ebooks on Malaysia, Malaysian birds. Ashwin had shared a few links. So that Jay Sharma, yes, we can. Um, uh, Gaurav, can you put Ashwin's email ID here for people to write to him directly?
Sure, I'll
Ashwin,
do that. I'll do
will you
that.
be willing to help people with their questions if they write to you?
yeah, sure. You can also send an email to Birdwatching Asia website also.
Okay.
Through them. Yeah, and we
Okay.
can
So
also go.
Birdwatching Asia website, friends. Send your questions there. Jay, send your questions there. And then Ashwin will be able to reply to you officially from that email platform. And friends, I can't prolong this webinar any longer, although we've got questions and we've got lots of things to hear discussed. But we've gone past our 1 hour. It's 1 hour 17 minutes, and absolutely, um, absolutely fantastic. If you've got more appreciation for him, keep writing. I'll copy it all and paste it for him. Thank you, Ashwin. So see you
Thank
soon,
you
my
very
friend.
much.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
my forays into Malaysia will be far more than once, and my team will be visiting Malaysia as well. Malaysia is going to be a stronghold for my company in the years to come. Thank you. I've got lots of friends. Albert has been here, who's been sort of my guru, when it comes to Borneo, and and there are many other people I really respect for the kind of work they've done in Malaysia. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, friends, for being here. We love you all. Thank you for being for these webinars. We'll keep in touch
Thank
with
you.
you, and we'll keep sending you more information. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, my
Thank
team,
you. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
and thank you for working behind the scenes. Bye bye.
Bye.